The announcement of penalty for the Hong Kong Ice Hockey Association over the national anthem controversy. Motorists reminded that the Hong Kong e-toll tag should be stuck directly onto the windscreen. And in New York City, security tightened ahead of Donald Trump's arraignment. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The Sports Federation and Olympic Committee of Hong Kong, China will begin procedures to temporarily suspend Hong Kong Ice Hockey Association's membership. The association has one more month to submit a report on improving its governance before the suspension takes effect. The SAR government supports the decision, adding it will consider cutting funding for the group without affecting the athletes. Sharon Tang reports.
It all began with a protest-movement-related song being played instead of the Chinese national anthem during an ice hockey match in Bosnia involving the city's team. Today, the final verdict is out, along with the penalty for the Hong Kong Ice Hockey Association. Starting today, procedures will begin to temporarily suspend the association's membership of the Sports Federation and Olympic Committee of Hong Kong, China, or SFNOC. The association must submit a full written explanation before the 4th of May for its failure to handle the national anthem issue in a dignified manner and suggest ways to improve its governance. Otherwise, its membership will be suspended. Despite repeated calls made by SFNOC to meet up with the association's leadership, it did not respond positively to the requests. The group only agreed to meet up 3 weeks after the incident. Such unwillingness and evasiveness, according to SFNOC, reflect the failure of the association's leaders to communicate and cooperate with SFNOC, and that the association has placed insufficient importance on the misplay of the anthem to uphold national dignity. SFNOC stressed it has always respected the autonomy of its member associations in their daily operations, but it must also make sure the penalty over the incident must be strict and strong enough. The Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau, in a statement this evening, expressed its support for the decision of SFNOC. It added the government may consider cutting funding for the Hong Kong Ice Hockey Association as a punishment under the condition that it will not affect the athletes. The sports sector worries the possible suspension of the association will hamper ice hockey development.
This is given a red card to certain particular NSA to give them a clear signal that and make sure they have to follow the proper procedures when they are playing overseas. Depends on the suspension period. If the period is rather short, maybe a few months, then I don't see any major and significant impact.
In 2018, SFNOC suspended the membership of the Karate-Do Federation of Hong Kong for administrative misconduct and its unfair election system. The membership was only resumed in 2021 when karate athletes were chosen to go for the Asian Games. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
Next Saturday is National Security Education Day. The chief executive noted that a series of activities will be held across the city's 18 districts to help local residents better understand how national security relates to Hong Kong. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Earlier today, Chief Executive John Lee announced before the Executive Council meeting the theme of this year's National Security Education Day: National Security, the foundation of stability and prosperity. Besides the opening ceremony, Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan, Financial Secretary Paul Chan, and Secretary for Justice Paul Lam, all three being members of the Committee for Safeguarding National Security, will hold lectures on the subject. The Security Bureau will hold its first National Security Cup, which aims to promote national security through various sports competitions. 5 branches of Hong Kong's discipline services will organize open days for residents to visit. Promotional activities will also be held across 18 districts, including the distribution of 60,000 picture books and the screening of national security-related animations. The chief executive stressed that such security must be ensured in order for the city to make further economic developments.
I firmly believe that Hong Kong was on the right path. That is, we must spare no effort in developing the economy and enhance our competitiveness. I also said that to achieve these targets, we need to have a safe and stable social environment in terms of security.
Back in 2015, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress designated the 15th of April as the National Security Education Day. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Meanwhile, the chief executive also commented on plans to import workers to alleviate the manpower shortage, particularly in the construction and transport sectors. John Lee said decisions will be announced by the middle of the year, though some representatives of the sectors involved strongly oppose any importation of labor.
The imported laborers should not enjoy a salary that is lower than the median salary in the industry. That is to protect workers' interests. If the overall shortage problem is so significant that if there is not enough supply of labor domestically, then we should come up with policies to fill the vacancies for the short-term needs.
The free flow tolling service, HKE Toll, will be implemented on May 7th. Many drivers do not stick the required vehicle tag directly on the windscreen, a practice the government warns could affect the accuracy of tolling. There is also a new refund arrangement for taxi drivers. Jackie Lin reports.
So far, 77% of the city's registered vehicles have received their vehicle tag for the Hong Kong e-toll service. Many of them affix a tag with a suction cup, a plastic case, or an electrostatic sticker on the windscreen.
I bought this to protect a debt. Otherwise, it's a window broke, I have to buy a new one.
And buying a replacement means extra hassle, extra time, and an extra fee of $51.
If we damage the case, we have to pay. I think it's unfair, supposedly, because it should be supported by government.
To minimize damage to the tag and facilitate scanning, the Transport Department said motorists should place it directly on the windscreen.
The reality, according to our testing, is that they will affect the accuracy of detecting these vehicle tags when they cross the harbor, when they use the tunnels.
For taxi drivers, the government has set up service counters at Rumsey Street and the Tsuen Wan government car parks to handle applications for the Hong Kong e-toll tax and driver cards that help cabbies split the tolls over their rented taxis.
Earlier, the taxi trade urged the authorities to waive the $120 charge on driver cards for the Hong Kong e-toll service. On that, the Commissioner for Transport reviewed a new arrangement. When the taxi drivers leave the trade, they could return the cards to the department. After authorities check that the cards are not damaged and remain functional, the drivers could receive a $100 deposit. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Overseas, former U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to be arraigned in a Manhattan court later today. Trump arrived in New York City Monday, where security is tight, as authorities warn protesters the city is not a playground for your misplaced anger. Tracy Furness has more.
Donald Trump left his Mar-a-Lago property in Florida Monday, arriving at Trump Tower in Manhattan, where he is spending the night ahead of his arraignment Tuesday. Trump is facing multiple charges of falsifying business records, including at least one felony offense, in the indictment handed down by a Manhattan grand jury last week. The investigation is scrutinizing six-figure payments made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels and former Playboy model Karen McDougal. Meanwhile, security is tight on the streets of Manhattan ahead of Trump's arraignment, and the city's mayor was insisting that would-be rabble-rousers behave.
While there may be some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger. We are the safest large city in America because we respect the rule of law in New York City.
The 76-year-old former president maintains his innocence, and he has plenty of support as he still intends to run for the 2024 presidency.
I will forever support this beautiful man who saved our country one time and is going to do it again. God bless President Trump, best president this country ever had.
And others are more skeptical.
I don't know if there's a whole lot you can expect from the indictment. I'm sure that he will be arraigned. I'm sure that something will happen. I doubt he'll spend any time in jail.
Judge Juan Machan ruled late Monday that 5 photographers will be admitted before the arraignment starts to take pictures for several minutes. Cameras will be allowed in the hallways of the building. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Meantime, the United States said it was unable to confirm a report that the Chinese balloon that flew across North America in February sent real-time information back to Beijing. An NBC report citing senior U.S. officials said the balloon made multiple passes over sensitive military sites before being shot down off the coast of South Carolina. China has rejected the report. Nazvi Karim has more.
The U.S. said at the time that the balloon did not pose a major threat to their national security, that they were able to prevent it from sending sensitive information back to China, that they made the right decision to wait until it crossed the continent before shooting it down. Doubts are now starting to emerge, according to an NBC report on Monday that cited 2 current senior U.S. officials and 1 former senior official. The report says a suspected Chinese spy balloon, which flew across North America in February, did indeed gather data on U.S. military sites, making multiple passes and sending the information via electronic signals back to Beijing in real time. The Biden administration came under attack for waiting a week until the balloon was off the coast of South Carolina before shooting it down on February 4th, citing civilian safety concerns. The Pentagon, though, said it could not confirm the NBC report, though it did admit that from the debris collected, they believed the balloon's movements were being controlled.
But in terms of transmission back to the PRC and what was able to be transmitted back, I just don't have further information for you at this time. As of right now, we're still doing an assessment of what exactly the intel was that China was able to gather, but we do know that the steps that we took provided little additive value for what they've been able to collect on from satellites before.
In Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said China rejected the distortion and hyping up of the incident. She said the object was an unmanned civilian airship that flew over U.S. territory in an unexpected and isolated event. U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby declined to answer questions from NBC. Amid already fraught relations between the 2 countries, the incident prompted U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to postpone a planned visit to Beijing aimed at easing tensions. It also sparked the U.S. into a more thorough search of their airspace, resulting in several other objects being shot down over the United States and Canada. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy will host a meeting in California on Wednesday with Taiwan leader Tsai Ing-wen, his office said in a statement. The meeting will take place at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library outside of Los Angeles. The announcement is official confirmation of what had been a widely anticipated meeting. It will be the first between a Taiwan leader and a U.S. House of Representatives speaker on American soil. Tsai will make what is formally called a transit in Los Angeles on her way back to Taipei after a trip to Central America. Beijing criticized the upcoming talks. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said China firmly opposes the U.S. arrangement for Tsai Ing-wen's transit visit and her meeting with U.S. House Speaker McCarthy. She stated this act seriously violates the One China principle and the provisions of the 3 China-U.S. joint communiques and gravely undermines China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Belize reaffirmed its diplomatic ties with Taiwan Monday, the 2nd country to do so in a week. This as Taiwan leader Tsai Ing-wen travels across Central America in a bid to shore up the dwindling number of allies. Belize follows in the footsteps of Guatemala, whose leader declared its relationship with Taiwan during a visit with Tsai. The 2 Central American nations represent 2 of Taiwan's 13 formal allies across the world. The trip comes a week after Honduras announced it would cut allegiances with Taipei in favor of Beijing. And former Taiwan leader Ma Ying-jeou is in Chongqing today as he continues his trip to the mainland. This morning, the former Kuomintang chairman visited the gravesite of Zhang Zizhong, a general and World War II hero who died after making a last stand against invading Japanese forces in the Battle of Yichang. Ma paid his respects to the fallen general and offered flowers under the title of former Kuomintang chairman Ma Ying-jeou. Mainland sources say the former Taiwan leader was holding back tears when praising the sacrifices Zhang made for his nation. Ma then visited a local vehicle factory before heading to the former location of the National Chengchi University. And still ahead, a train crash in the Netherlands leaves 1 dead and some 30 others injured. And locally, a sharp increase in influenza A infections over the past week. Russia assumed the presidency of the UN Security Council on April 1st, which the U.S. described as an April Fool's joke. Moscow, however, has dismissed the claim, saying it would defend the principles of the UN Charter. With Russia's invasion of Ukraine now into its 14th month, Moscow has taken over the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council for April. Its ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, said Russia will be an honest broker. On the battlefront, fighting raged in the Donetsk town of Bakhmut, with Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin claiming to have raised a Russian victory flag in the city's center. Ukraine mocked the claim, saying the flag was planted over some kind of toilet. Finland, meanwhile, will join the NATO military alliance, a policy shift triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Finnish flag will be today raised outside NATO headquarters on the outskirts of Brussels. A train derailed near The Hague in the Netherlands early this morning, sending 2 carriages into a field next to the tracks. 1 person died and some 30 passengers were injured, many of them seriously. The derailment happened around 3:25 a.m. local time. The cause of the accident is still under investigation. Dutch media reported that there was a small construction crane on the tracks. This was not initially confirmed by authorities. The local fire brigade tweeted after the crash that it appeared to be a collision between a passenger train and building material. A spokesman for local fire services told a news show that a small blaze broke out at the near rear of the train, but was quickly extinguished. A patient with cerebral palsy has died after contracting the influenza A virus, according to a spokesperson for the Prince of Wales Hospital. The government said the number of flu cases has increased and urged the public to maintain good hygiene when traveling or going out during the upcoming holidays. According to the latest data from the Department of Health, a sharp 65% increase in cases was observed over the past week, but still 9% lower than the baseline. Family doctor Lam Wing-wo said most people have lost antibodies, hence an increase in cases of cough and pneumonia. Respiratory specialist Lung Chi-chu, meanwhile, said the risk of catching an illness is the same locally as it is abroad. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening.